Imagine walking through the sands of Egypt. The sun beats down, the wind whispers across the ruins, and beneath your feet, hidden for thousands of years, lies a secret so big, so strange, it could flip history upside down. The subject matter isn't just another mummy story. The subject matter isn't about pyramids or pharaohs you've already seen in a museum. Archaeologists have found a mysterious tunnel under an ancient temple. People are calling the perfectly built tunnel a geometric miracle. But it's not just the structure that's making people nervous. It's what might be waiting at the end of it. They believe, seriously, that it could lead to the lost tomb of Cleopatra, the queen you've seen in movies, the one who was smarter than kings and more powerful than armies, is still remembered today. She is a woman whose name continues to resonate throughout history. But what if the narrative we've heard about her was never the truth? The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities posted something strange on social media. It was a quiet announcement, just a few lines, but it sent shockwaves through the world of archaeology. They revealed the discovery of an underground tunnel beneath the ancient temple of Osiris Magna, a crumbling ruin on the coast of Egypt. The tunnel wasn't small. It was 13 meters underground, more than 4,000 feet long, and perfectly carved through solid rock. Nobody expected it. Nobody believed it at first. But one woman wasn't surprised. Her name is Kathleen Martinez, a lawyer-turned-archaeologist from the Dominican Republic. She had been searching for Cleopatra's tomb for almost 2 decades. People thought she was chasing a myth. They believed she was dreaming. But she believed something no one else did. She believed Cleopatra didn't just vanish after her death. She believed the queen chose to be buried in a sacred place, hidden away on purpose. The place was brimming with symbols, rituals, and ancient magic. And Martinez had a theory. If Cleopatra thought she was the goddess Isis, she would have chosen to be buried in a temple dedicated to her. The temple in question is known as Osiris Magna. Coins feature pieces of Cleopatra's face. Ancient writings call the place holy ground. The underground chambers are adorned with intricate carvings. Mummies, buried with golden tongues in their mouths, were found. They were buried with real gold in their mouths, where their tongues should have belonged. Because the people back then believed something terrifying: the dead needed to speak in the afterlife. They believed that not only could the dead speak in the afterlife, but they also needed to communicate with the god Osiris, the ruler of the underworld. They thought only gold could make that happen. And suddenly, the comment wasn't just a dig anymore. It was something darker. There was an air of mystery surrounding it. These weren't normal burials. This wasn't a normal tomb. This crypt was a place of secrets, death rituals, and ancient beliefs that stretched back over 2,000 years. But the real shock came when the tunnel was uncovered. It stretched for miles, twisting beneath the temple, beneath the earth, pointing toward the Mediterranean Sea. Some of it had collapsed, probably from earthquakes long ago. But parts of it remained intact, untouched. These discoveries reveal that there is much more to the biblical story than you ever imagined, truths that have been kept secret for centuries, waiting for the right moment to be discovered. And now, as old certainties are put to the test, finding clarity and understanding can completely redefine your faith journey. That's exactly what Forgotten Prophecies, the apocalyptic revelations that can change your future, offers. A path of guidance and wisdom through little explored biblical revelations, pointing to what really awaits us. This ebook delves deep into the prophecies and provides insights into tomorrow. And best of all, it's available for free. Click the link in the first comment and secure yours now before this opportunity is gone. Her obsession didn't start in Egypt. It started in a classroom, thousands of miles away in the Dominican Republic. Kathleen was a successful criminal lawyer. Her life was stable. But her mind was elsewhere, trapped in scrolls, stories, and faded memories of one woman, Cleopatra VII. For centuries, Cleopatra has been remembered as the seductive queen who brought empires to their knees. But Kathleen saw something else. She dove into every text she could find, Roman, Greek, and Eastern, and noticed something chilling. The Roman accounts, especially those written by Plutarch, painted Cleopatra as manipulative and dangerous. But the Eastern texts? They described a brilliant mind. The woman in question was a scholar in the fields of medicine, philosophy, politics, and astronomy. A poet. A ruler. A force. She wasn't just a queen, she was a symbol of power that scared the ancient world. No one in the archaeological world was ready to accept this theory. Kathleen believed that she, often associated with the goddess Isis, would have chosen to be buried in a sacred temple dedicated to the deity. She began mapping locations using descriptions from Strabo, an ancient geographer who had written in detail about Egypt. Her search pointed to 21 different temples across the country. Taposiris Magna, the great house of Osiris. Taposiris Magna, a semi-destroyed temple, sits quietly on the edge of Lake Mariaut, nearly forgotten, 50 kilometers west of Alexandria. In 2002, she traveled to Egypt for the first time. She met with Zahi Hawass, the famed Egyptian archaeologist, and gained permission to visit several ancient sites. But it was Taposiris Magna that haunted her. It was there, among the fallen columns and buried chambers, that she felt Cleopatra's presence most. This is the kind of feeling that sends chills down your spine, even under the Egyptian sun. Remember, the ebook that reveals even more about these little-known prophecies is still available for download. But act quickly, only a few copies remain. Don't miss out on the chance to discover what could revolutionize your understanding of the future. She returned to her home country with a decision that would change her life forever. She left behind her legal career and began building an excavation project under the Universidad Católica Santo Domingo. And in a groundbreaking moment, Egypt granted an excavation license to a Latin American country for the first time in history. Kathleen funded the expedition herself. In 2004, she and her team officially began excavations at Taposiris Magna. The world barely noticed. But Kathleen didn't care. She was on a mission. The temple was in terrible condition. Experts had dismissed the site, destroyed in 1798, possibly during Napoleon's invasion, as unfinished and unimportant. But as they dug, they found strange things buried in the sand. The excavation revealed the existence of 2 underground chambers. A hieroglyphic and demotic stele referred to the temple as holy ground. And hundreds of relics that suggested this place held deeper meaning than anyone had guessed. After years of excavation, researchers uncovered over 800 artifacts in 2018. Among them, 15 catacombs, 800 skeletal remains, and 14 mummies, many still sealed in limestone tombs. Inside the temple, researchers discovered coins and statues bearing Cleopatra's face. In 2005, she was appointed as the first Minister of Culture of Egypt by the Dominican government. The Dominican government granted her a diplomatic passport. This was not due to politics, but rather because her dedication had transcended beyond mere research. It was a full-body commitment to truth. The goal was to reconstruct history from its foundations. She returned year after year, rebuilding the past one artifact at a time. And then came December 5, 2022. Her team uncovered something. The team discovered 16 rock-cut tombs. Inside them, ancient mummies, their real tongues ripped out and replaced with tongues made of solid gold. The mouths of these mummies are filled with solid gold. Gold is in the chest. Gold used like sacred armor. Egyptian officials, such as Dr. Mustafa Waziri, held the belief that the dead required communication with the gods. Osiris, the god of the underworld, was one of these gods. These golden tongues weren't decorations. They were tickets to the afterlife. And suddenly, Taposiris Magna didn't feel like just a tomb. It felt like a warning. It felt like a place of power and death, a place of forgotten beliefs buried too deep to fully understand. A massive tunnel, carefully carved through layers of limestone, lay 13 meters beneath the surface. It stretched for more than 1,300 meters. That's over 4,200 feet long, and it was around 2 meters high and 2 meters wide in most sections. Don't forget that the gateway to these life-changing revelations is just a click away. Secure your copy of the ebook. Forgotten Prophecies. Read the apocalyptic revelations that can change your future. Now before it's too late. They are limited. That may sound technical, but here's what you need to understand. This facility was built in ancient times, without modern machinery, without GPS, and somehow, it was nearly perfectly symmetrical. Experts started calling it a geometric marvel, and it's not hard to see why. Most ancient tunnels or pathways from that era were crooked, uneven, or collapsed. But this one had precise angles, aligned structures, and an eerie sense of direction. It didn't wander randomly underground, it was going somewhere. Everyone held their breath as they anticipated its destination. The path was moving toward the Mediterranean Sea, pointing directly to the sunken ruins of ancient Alexandria, the royal capital where Cleopatra ruled. But this wasn't just a tunnel. It was more like a gateway, and not just to a physical place. The design seemed to hold something sacred, perhaps even forbidden. Its walls were marked by symbols of the gods, faint carvings of the divine, and its position under a temple dedicated to Osiris only deepened the mystery. As archaeologists pushed further, they began to find more than just stone. In chambers near the tunnel's entrance, teams uncovered over 1,500 artifacts. The artifacts included statues, coins, and ceremonial items that appeared to have remained undisturbed since Cleopatra's time. There were coins featuring the image of Alexander the Great, rare gold pieces featuring Queen Cleopatra herself, and even items associated with the Ptolemaic dynasty, the royal bloodline into which Cleopatra was born. But the discovery that shook them the most was something far more bizarre. They found gold leaf decorations molded into shapes like scarab beetles, lotus flowers, and pieces that had once covered mummified bodies. In one burial site, a mummy was wrapped in layers of linen, but when archaeologists peeled them back, they saw thin sheets of gold pressed into the bones, especially near the face and chest. The golden shapes weren't random. One had the head of a falcon, the symbol of Horus, the god of kingship. Another showed a cobra crown, a symbol of protection and divine authority. These weren't just burial trinkets. They were messages. These were messages encapsulating ancient beliefs, etched in gold. Rituals designed to prepare the dead for something greater, something beyond death. If Cleopatra truly saw herself as the earthly form of Isis, and if she believed her death had to mirror the myth of Osiris, then this temple wasn't just a coincidence. It was her final sanctuary. It was a sacred space hidden beneath layers of history, guarded by gods and protected by time. But time wasn't so kind. Don't miss out on the opportunity to secure your free ebook, packed with never-before-seen revelations. Act now. There are only a few copies left to uncover the mysteries that await you. Multiple earthquakes had hit the region over the centuries, likely causing sections of the tunnel to collapse, especially the parts that reached closer to the sea. The water completely submerged some rooms. Others were filled with debris so tightly packed that even modern excavation tools struggled to break through. The ancient Egyptians believed that once a person died, their soul would journey to another realm, a spiritual world ruled by powerful gods. Chief among them was Osiris, the god of the afterlife, justice, and resurrection. According to myth, Osiris judged the dead. But you couldn't just show up silent. You had to speak, to declare your innocence, to prove your soul was worthy. And for that, a voice was essential. Not just because it was valuable, but because gold was believed to be divine. It never rusted, never broke down, and shone like the sun. Gold wasn't just metal, it was eternal. It was thought to carry the power of the gods themselves. So placing a golden tongue into the mouth of the dead wasn't decoration. It was a spiritual tool. It served as a voice for eternity. And it didn't stop there. Thin layers of gold wrapped several mummies, especially around the head and chest. Archaeologists found golden charms tucked beneath linen wrappings, symbols shaped like scarab beetles, lotus flowers, and serpents. Each one had a purpose. The scarab, for example, represented rebirth and transformation. The lotus stood for purity and creation. Often placed on the forehead, the cobra symbolized protection against evil in the afterlife. These weren't random trinkets. They were part of a complex system of ritual protection, a spiritual map to guide the soul through the dangers of the underworld. One of the most chilling finds came in the form of cartonnage, a mask-like structure made from layers of plaster and linen that covered a mummy's face and torso. On one, archaeologists saw a crown with horns and a cobra, symbols of power and divinity. Beneath it, etched into the chest, was the image of a falcon-headed necklace, associated with Horus, the protector of the living and the guide of the dead. This intense preparation for the afterlife wasn't just for show. It reflected a deep, all-consuming belief that life was only one part of existence. Death wasn't to be feared, it was to be navigated. And only those who were properly equipped, both physically and spiritually, could survive the journey. Remember to join our community by subscribing to this channel. The use of gold, the carvings, the sacred symbols, these were reserved for people of high status or for burials believed to be of immense religious importance. The concentration of these symbols at Taposiris Magna implies that this site was not merely a cemetery, but rather a sacred burial ground. More than 800 artifacts were uncovered, including coins and pottery from the Ptolemaic period. Many of the coins had the image of Queen Cleopatra on one side, reinforcing the belief that this temple played a crucial role during her reign. What's even more powerful is the fact the temple itself was built in honor of Osiris. And Cleopatra, throughout her life, aligned herself with Isis, Osiris's divine partner. In ancient myth, Isis resurrected Osiris, bringing him back from death through magic and devotion. If she saw herself as Isis in life, then this place, the temple of her god's resurrection, could have been the final stage in her journey. It was a place where she prepared for the afterlife alongside Mark Antony, united in death, just as they were in legend. If the area really is part of Cleopatra's burial site, then every step was planned with religious precision. It means she didn't just want to disappear, she wanted to be protected. She desired protection from time itself, not from people. The source is time itself. Her story has been erased. Her name has been plagued by falsehoods for centuries. In Egyptian mythology, when a person died, their spirit, called the Ba, left the body and traveled through a shadowy world filled with gates, creatures, and divine judges. The soul had to pass through these levels to reach eternal peace. But this journey wasn't easy. To survive it, you needed help. That help came in the form of rituals and magical protections placed on your body during burial. The discoveries made in the tombs beneath Taposiris Magna perfectly align with these beliefs. Take, for example, the gold-covered tongues found in the mouths of some mummies. These weren't decorative or symbolic in the modern sense. To the ancient Egyptians, words had power. The tongue was not just for speaking, it was the instrument of truth. In the afterlife, the dead had to speak a declaration of innocence before a panel of gods. A monstrous creature known as Ammit would destroy their souls if they failed. A gold tongue wasn't just protection, it was a lifeline. It ensured the spirit could speak clearly and be heard by the divine. But the rituals didn't stop there. Are you enjoying the story? Support our channel by clicking the subscribe button. Many of the bodies were found with gold leaf pressed against their bones, especially near the head and chest. This practice wasn't just for beauty. In Egyptian thought, gold was the flesh of the gods, unchanging, indestructible, eternal. Covering parts of the body in gold was like wrapping them in divine armor. And then came the symbols. In one tomb, archaeologists found a mummy with decorations showing a crown with horns topped by a cobra. The item was the crown of Hathor and Isis, goddesses of protection, love, and resurrection. Another showed a necklace with a falcon-headed pendant, the mark of Horus, protector of kings and the living. Each of these images was a spell in disguise. Together, they formed what's known as funerary iconography, a visual language designed to guide, guard, and empower the spirit. Just like how we use passports and documents today, these symbols acted as proof of identity and worth to the gatekeepers of the afterlife. If you're enjoying this journey, consider clicking super. Thanks. Your support enables us to continue uncovering stories that the world never expected to discover. Because she wasn't just a ruler, she was seen as a living goddess, specifically a human embodiment of Isis. She was the goddess who resurrected her slain husband Osiris and gave birth to Horus, the next divine king. By aligning herself with Isis, she was doing more than politics. She was writing herself into the mythology. And if she believed her death should mirror the divine stories, then being buried at a temple of Osiris, where the god of resurrection was worshipped, was no coincidence. The temple, the gold, the rituals, all of it points to a carefully constructed plan to make her transition to the afterlife as powerful and protected as possible. This theory becomes even more compelling when you realize how few burial sites in Egypt contain this combination of high-status elements: solid gold artifacts, royal symbols, sacred temple foundations, and direct ties to Ptolemaic figures. That makes Osiris Magna not just interesting but unique. The Egyptians believed that tombs weren't just places to bury bodies, they were machines of rebirth. The design of these tombs was to transform the deceased into a divine form, enabling them to rise again in the next world. Thanks for watching. Join our community by subscribing to this channel. Until the next video.